And we're back, and it is COMP305, Winter 2016 semester, Week 5, Lesson 5, Part 4, and we're talking about animation. And I want to direct you guys to the scripting API here on Unity. And if you notice, I'm looking at Unity 3D, docs.unity3d.com, script reference, animator, right? And animator is actually a class that includes lots of stuff built in, right? This is great. I mean, there's a lot of power, things that we can do in the animator that is really cool. An example of would be, especially from a 2D perspective, we have some built-in public functions. Like, for example, we have something called, if I look through here, something called setInteger. Oh, I made an integer parameter, right? And we can look at the setInteger option, right, for our animator, right? That's cool. So animator.setInteger, and then how does it work? What is it listening for? It's listening for a string. What string is it listening for? It's the name of the parameter, anim state. And then the value that I'm going to set. Hey, guys and girls, guess what? This is going to play my animation, right? So my anim state, if I said my anim state is 0, it's going to play my idle animation. If I set my animation state to 1, it's going to play my walk, and 2, my jump. That's it. That's how we make the animator work, right? Okay, so we know that, but we also have to make the guy walk. Right, and we're going to use the get access methodology again. Right, remember we did that. We used get access and we used horizontal last time. Right, and horizontal goes left and right. Right. Am I going to need the vertical axis? Like, am I going to jump with my up arrow? Maybe. How about down? Do I have anything for down? No. So if I get a down, right, a negative, I could ignore it, right? Or, like if I go down this way, right, I'm going to get another value, but I don't have to react to it. All I care about is the up animation. Or I can use a space bar. I can specifically listen for a space bar event, right? Okay. And we need to use the input class to do that. Input.getAccess and so on, all right? So for now, I don't want to move yet. Physically move, because moving means we have to nudge the character a little bit with physics. We're going to push the character, right? Because physics, when he moves, he gains force from physics, right? That's what's going to happen. He's not going to move like we did with our spaceship, right? Or our plane. We didn't do that. We just changed positions. We can't change positions here, because changing positions would be kind of weird, right? It means that we move from here to there. But what happens if I can move forward, and then if there's nothing below my feet, I'm going to fall, which is kind of going to look weird. I want to have more natural physics, which means I'm going to move, and as I run, I'm going to move. Okay, let's check this out. So we're going to go back into Unity, right? I mean Unity, not Visual Studio. How about that? Let's bring up Unity here. I'm just showing you what to do so that way it's step by step, right? And if you can't do movement in a platformer, as an example, then that's bad, right? So I've got my hero, here's my hero, and I've got his animation states and everything else. Here's my scene. I don't care about this yet anymore, right? I need to wrap in some kind of controller, hero controller that's in here, and I'm going to attach it here as a script. So let's just kind of minimize these things. So I have them there, but I don't want to touch them anymore. I want to click Add Component. I want to add a new script, and it's going to be a new C# script that we're going to call hero controller. Right, here's my hero controller script. I want my script, my hero controller script, all right, I want this hero controller script to be not in the assets, but actually in the scripts folder. So I'm going to drag and drop it into the scripts folder. Make sure you do that. All right, cool. In the scripts folder now, I have this hero controller script, and I'm going to double click to bring up MonoDevelop or Visual Studio if you're a Visual Studio user. Okay, so cool. I do not want Visual Studio Code. Look, my Visual Studio Code came up, which, by the way, you can use as an external editor, to do my stuff. If you're someone who loves Visual Studio Code, you can use Visual Studio Code as your code editor, right? You don't have to, and I don't recommend it. I actually recommend MonoDevelop, right? So how do I change that? How do I go and change stuff? Well, I go to Preferences, and if you look at External Tools, notice that it says Code, right? I want to MonoDevelop. You can choose whatever browser you want or editor you want. I'm going to choose MonoDevelop built in. I like that more for this particular application, right? And I'm going to press play. So that's cool. That works. Let's try the hero controller again in MonoDevelop. There it is. And my hero controller is part of my scripts. Now remember what I want to do. I need, right? In order for me to affect the animator of my hero, I need a reference to the animator. And I'm going to do it this time using the get component methodology that we used before, right? So I need a variable, and I want to make this private because I don't need to be exposed on the controller or on the inspector. So I'll say private instance variables. And I'll say private, and I'll call it the animator, right? So animator, lowercase, with an underscore, right? Okay, I need to kind of talk about the type. The type is animator. That's the type. Okay, cool. So I've defined a type. It's private, and it's of type animator. It detects. Notice that it says Unity Engine as an example, right? That's where it comes from. And I want to get this as a component. So I'm going to say in my start, which is where I initialize everything, I'm going to say this._animator is equal to GameObject.getComponent, right? Get component in angle brackets, animator, right, is a reference to my animator. So because I have an animator attached to my player object, I can do this, right? I could drag and drop. But in this case, it's more complicated, especially if I want to make my animator or my player object a prefab, which I will, right? In fact, I want to make everything in my scenes these days from now on prefabs that I'm going to drag onto the scene, right? Or I can put into the scene programmatically with a game controller, like we did last time with just the clouds. Again, we're building, right? We talked about building, how we're building up slowly, making it more complex, because Unity can do a lot of stuff. Okay. So we've done this. Now I want to check on update. I want to say, well, I want to get my move, right? So again, I can make it a private variable, right? So I'll say private, right? And we'll make it the move variable a float, right? And we'll call it _move, right? So I'm moving somehow, right? And what we're going to say is this: in my start, I'm going to set up my move, right, to be 0. Okay, move is going to be, I'm going to say move, this.move, right? We're going to just set it up to 0. We can do that over here, by the way, too. I'm just resetting it to 0, so I'm initializing it to 0f. Actually, I can make it 0f. There we go. You don't have to do this. Some people refuse to do this kind of stuff. I like initializing my variables so they have a 0 state or something. Okay, now I'm going to say this. This._move then, right, is going to be equal to input, just like we did before, dot get axis, right? And we're looking at the horizontal axis. Let's look at the horizontal axis. Horizontal, right? That's what it is. So I'm going to get a value here, right? I'm going to get a value between -1, moving to the left, and +1, moving to the right. Either way, if it's not equal to 0, I want to run. Okay, I want to run. So let's try this out. So let's see how I was going to do this. So I'm going to say if, we'll start with this, if move, right? Oh, move, this._move is not equal to 0. So it's not equal to 0. So anything else, positive or negative, right? If it's not equal to 0, then I want to change my animation state. I want to say this._animator set integer, right? And I'm setting up the anim state property to an integer value of 1, right? Because that's what I want it to do. So what this is saying is call the walk animation or clip. I'll call it clip so we know what it is. Okay, call the walk clip. Do we understand this code? So input.getAxis is the way we get input from the keyboard, right? And getAxis horizontal is the left and right arrows or the A and D keys on the keyboard. That's what we're doing, right? And then if this move is not equal to 0, because those keys produce either a positive or negative value, right? Up to 1 and as low as -1, right? And if it's whatever it is, I want to animate. I don't care what it is, I want to animate. Eventually, when we have a negative value, we want to flip our object. So I want to scale on the x-axis -1, so it flips this way. And we'll have a flip method. We won't do it today. We'll have a flip method to flip my animation, my character, so it looks this way. And when I turn the other way, it'll flip my animation the other way. So it'll go the other way around. Okay, that's what I'll do. But for now, we'll just do this. Okay, let's try this out. Let's go back to Unity and let's play this clip and see what happens. So here, boom. Notice that is he idle? Is he playing the idle animation? How come? Let's take a look at him really quickly. Is he playing, is my hero playing the idle animation? He won't play the idle animation unless I tell him to. So let's fix that. So let's go back to the code, right? And here, what I want to do is I want to say this. So this move is 0. On start, so as he enters the game, as an example, before I even touch him, right? We want to set the animators, this thing here, to 0. So I'm going to copy this, put it into my start, and change this anim state to 0. So before I haven't touched anything, and I want to start animating. That's his default state. So set default animation state to idle. That's what we're doing. Okay, cool. Let's see if this works, right? If I set my animator set integer to 0, and if I press play now, let's see if that little animation works, right? And let's see if it doesn't work and see what's happening. Well, how come it's not moving, right? I'm calling the animator, right? Here's my console. Is yours working? Huh? Yours is working? What did you do different? Come on. Huh? Only go once. Okay. Let's see if I change my game. Well, we'll talk about this in a second, right? If I press him, right? And notice if I try and press it again, right? Or the other way, he doesn't go back to idle, right? Because I don't have a state for that. He moved once, but it stopped, and I can't do it again. And remember what I talked about when I went to hero? When I went to my clips, my animations. I have my idle and my walk and everything, and I set them all to no looping. Let's put loop time back. Just want to show you what that is so you understand, right? So you understand all the piece parts. So I'm running this backwards now. Let's try this out. Now look at it. Now he's looping forever, right? How come? Because I pressed it and it launched that sequence. See how it works now? Forever. It'll just launch, right? Okay, cool. So that's right. I got to put them back, right? And loop time should be equal to, it should be on, right? I want to show it off so you can see the difference, right? And now let's go back and fix our code because our code is wrong, right? Well, it's not wrong. It's incomplete. If it's not equal to 0, then do this. Otherwise, do this, right? And that's what we should put in there all the time. So we get this. We'll cut it out of here because we don't need it anymore. And we'll put it in here as an else statement. So else, right? If anything else, if he's not moving, right? If this move is not equal to it, then he's going to be idle. Now, we got to be careful here because there's another state we haven't taken into account. The jump state, right? We haven't tested for this move, right? And this move only has horizontal axis. We haven't even thought about jump, right? Which we'll get in a second. Okay, cool. So let's try this out. Let's try running and not running. Those are the two states we want. So let's go back here and press play. And now we're idle. And now he's playing his idle animation. Take a look, right? Every frame he's checking to see. And if I press this way, he's running. And if I stop, he stops. And if I go this way, he's running. And I stop, he stops pretty much right away, right? Notice, right? He's moving from one state to the other. As I press him, pretty much immediately, depending on how fast I press the state, he runs or stops, right? Do you have this? If you don't have that, you missed something in the code. Let's go back to the code, right? So if I go back to the code, this is what it should look like right now. And by the way, this is incomplete. How is this incomplete? Because I have to check if I'm not pressing the horizontal button, right? If I'm not pressing the horizontal button, but if I press the vertical button, this is where I would check. So I can't do both. I can't jump and run because that would be weird, right? I can either jump or run, but not both, right? So I'm not running and I'm not standing idle. I'm jumping, right? What did I press? I got to check to see if my my up animation, my up button is being pressed. So how do I do that? So I'm going to say this, if, right? And I'll say, again, we have to figure this out. I have to set up another variable for this, which is jump, my jump, right? So let's do that. So I'm going to say up here, private float jump, right? Now there's different ways of doing it. For example, you can say is jumping as a Boolean as well. Guys, there's a million ways to code, right? I'm just thinking of this as we go, right? Let's check this out. So I'll say, well, let's set the jumping, this dot underscore jump. I'll set this to 0 too, right? So 0. So as long as, and I'll say this, every frame, right? I'm going to check to see if he's jumping or moving. So I'll say up here, I'll say if he's jumping, right? If jump is equal to input.getAccess, right? And it's vertical, so vertical. Get key is a specific key, by the way, right? If I wanted to use get key, right? Let's try that just because you said it, right? Get key, I'll do it. I meant to use, you know, vertical, but hey, if my get key, look at the key code, I can use key code, right? Key code dot space, right? Space bar, right, to jump. Or key code dot up arrow, right? It's only the up arrow, but not the down arrow. Who cares about the down arrow? By the way, does this give me a positive number? Is it from 0 to 1? What does it give me with this up arrow? There's different things for get key. It returns different things than get access. So let's leave it as is for now and put it back to this, get access, right? But you can do that. You can test for specific keys this way. We'll get to that. I want to show you that later. So this is vertical. And all I care about is up. What's up? Is it positive number or a negative number? You sure? Well, let's see. Let's see what it is. Let's just to see what it is, I'm going to do a debug.log, right? .log, and we'll do this underscore jump, right? So we'll do jump. That's all we'll do. So we're going to press an up button. So it has nothing to do with this code right here. So let's go back, test it if you don't know what it is, right? And press play, and it's just going to idle right now. And I'm going to press the up button and see what I get, right? So I'm getting a positive number from 0 to 1. Take a look on the bottom. I'm getting a positive number here. So it's going to go up to 1. If I press the down arrow, I'm going to get a negative number. I don't care about negatives. All I care about is positives. So if my jump is positive, right, and I'm going to check where, I'm going to check in my idle when I'm not running, right? Or do I check in my running? Do I check the same time if I'm running? Because I can go from running to jumping, but I can't do both. I can't click running and then jumping. It's only one or the other, right? See what I'm saying? I have to take my hand off the running and go jumping. I can't run and jump at the same time. I can run and then jump, but I can't run and jump, right? Otherwise, you're going to get some weird motion, right? So let's talk this out, right? So here's my hero jump. Let's go back to my code. And again, there's different, we can debate this in a different way. So I'm not running, right? As an example, it's 0. I've stopped moving, right? My move is not equal to 0. I'm thinking about this with you guys. Come on. And if I go here, if I put it inside this thing, if I go if this dot underscore jump, right, as an example, is greater than 0, because that's all I care about. If it's only greater than 0, do I want to do it in here? Because then that means that, let's set this up here. We'll put this back in here. That means that this would be 2, right? So, you know, call the jump animation, right? Call the jump clip. That's what I'm doing here, calling the jump clip. If my jump is greater than 0, right? Okay, this is cool, but that means that only it'll work with when I'm not pressing the right button. Let's try that out and see if it works. Because I'm only checking if this is equal to 0. Be careful what this means, right? I'm showing you this because you might be forgiven to think this is correct. It's not. We'll see why, right? It's logic, right? So let's talk about this. So here I am, I fall, and let's go look at my scene for a second. So here's my guy, he's idling, and then I press my run button, I'm done, and then I press my run button and I jump, I jump, and how come? It's not jumping. It's not showing my jump animation. How come? At 2, but jump, not going to happen, right? I can't press both, and I'm going to go to idle. Here's where I'm going to go to idle. Take a look. Here's my idle thing. So when I'm in the else, what's happening? I have to wait for this move to cycle back down to 0. It doesn't happen automatically, right? I can make it so that it happens faster, right? But right now, it's my key sequence. The longer I hold my button down, the more force I'm adding to my move. That's what's happening, right? Okay, so I got to be very careful here. Hey, oh my God, isn't there another update method for physics? Isn't it called fixed update? Yeah, I got to use that for sure when I'm doing physics. I don't have it now, but I may want to move all this stuff to a fixed update, which means renaming this update to fixed update. Just saying, right? Just keep things to keep in mind. The other thing is that this didn't work at all. This little jump, if this jump is greater than 0, right? This dot jump, right? It's equal to 0 right now, and I'm getting a get axis here. How about if I took this out of here, right, and put it under here? Would that be good, right? Well, that means that I check if I'm jumping every frame, which means I can jump and be idle at the same time, right? And then which one would go first, my jump state or my idle state? Let's try this out. So save and press play. And then let's see what happens. Right here I am. And then I'm jumping, running, jumping, running and jumping, running and jumping, right? That works, right? Left and run, jumping, woo, and running and jumping. Yeah. Nothing works on the way down. Even if I press the down button, see I'm not getting any down. So it's totally possible to do what I'm doing. And this is the first piece to our move. Our idea is to get our animation correct, all right? Our animation has to be correct. And depending on the direction that I'm going, right? If I'm going in a positive direction, so if I'm pointing, I want to start off pointing in a positive direction, all right? So this is how we flip the animation. I'm going to assume that I'm facing right because my hero starting off faces right. He faces this way. If my hero was made the other way, if my animation was facing left, then I would start him left, all right? If I start right, as an example, I'm facing to the right, I'm going to give positive and negative numbers, right? Positive and negative numbers. And I'm making a Boolean. It's either I'm facing right or I'm not, okay? If I'm facing right, if I'm facing to the right, I want to scale my object to 1, right? My x-axis to 1. If I'm facing to the left, I want to scale my axis to -1. Because that means my axis, I can scale. Scale means I can change the shape of my object, right? A negative scaling means I flip. That's what I'm doing, right? That's what negative scaling means. So let's do that. So first I need and I'll do this, we'll do the last thing we'll stop. Sorry, I know I'm running out of time. I wish I had more time with you guys and I would show the whole thing, right? Well, we're almost there, right? So I'm going to make a private Boolean, here it is, Boolean, right? Which I'm going to call facing, right? And my facing, I'm going to start off, right, as true. I'm facing to the right. And if I'm going to call it facing, I'm going to go facing right. Facing right. Facing right makes more sense, right, which I am. By default, in my start, I'm going to say this dot underscore facing right, is equal to true, right? Okay, cool. So this is where my move happens, right? My animator is animating, right? This isn't going to change. That's never going to change. But I'm going to check here if this dot underscore move, right, is greater than 0, right? That means that I'm facing right. So this dot underscore facing right is equal to true, right? That would be true if I'm moving to this way, to the right, right? If, however, I'm moving the other way around, should I do else if? So I can only do one or the other. I can't do both, right? We'll put it as both. This dot underscore move, right, is less than 0. If that's true, if it's less than 0, then, well, this dot facing right is false. Okay, cool. I'm going to call a method that I haven't written yet, right? Which I'm going to call, it's going to be a private method. So I'm going to, here's my private methods, right? We're going to make it a void or private first, void, and we're going to call this thing underscore flip, right? There's our flip. And we're going to do this. We're going to say if this dot underscore facing right is equal to true, then what do I want to do with this one? I want to scale my object. Oh man, rotation to scale. I need a reference to my transform, right? I can't do anything with my object unless I have a reference to my transform, which means I need that. So I'm going to go back up here and create a reference to my transform, right? Which I'm going to call underscore transform, which I'll, by the way, I should do this automatically anyway. And up here before my animator, I'm going to say this dot underscore transform is equal to game object dot get component transform, right? Okay. And what I want to do is I want to say this. I want to say, well, if this is facing right, I want to scale this thing. I want to say this dot underscore transform dot set, or is it scale? Let's see, local scale, right? Notice it's a vector 3 object, right? Local scale. I can't assign it directly like x and y. I can't do that. Remember, just like we can't do position. I got to say is equal to a new vector 2 object, right? New vector 2 object, right? And remember, it's only x and y. I can't flip on the z because z doesn't exist in 2D, right? So it's x or y. It's going to be on the x. And I'm going to say is 1 and 0, right? Because I'm not going to, 1 and 1. Sorry, 1 and 1. 1 and 0 would be bad. 1 and 0 would be like, he'd be like no height, right? Does that make sense? So if he's facing right, then you're going to scale him normally. If he's facing left, if this isn't true, so here's else, you have to do this, right? If he's not facing left, if he's not facing right, he's facing left, just the way it is, then I'll just copy this line, right? And put it down here, and then say this is -1. I'm only changing the x. I'm flipping it across the x-axis. All right, and let's see if this works, right? So I'm going to call the flip method here, right? I'm going to say this dot underscore flip, call it here. And I want to call it right here too, this dot underscore flip. That's why I made a method, because every time he moves right or left, depending on what it is, he's going to flip. And he's also going to do the animation sequence. All right, whew, lots of little code there. Let's try this out. And if I made this right, then we'll be good. An example of this is left, right, left, right, left, right, jump, left, jump, right. Make sense? We need this first, ladies and gentlemen, before we move, because now it's going to look like a real character, right? You move left and right. I don't have to make 2 animation sequences. I don't have to have 2 animators. All I do is flip him across the x-axis, and he can move it in either direction. Questions around this stuff? I know I went long. Yes? It won't be right. It won't be right. And then we'll talk about that when we get back. You're going to see that there's some weird things when I collide with the block. His nose will go right into it, right? Because he's going to change shape, right? So we got to figure this out. How do I change the shape of my collider? And there's a way of doing that right within the animation. Any other questions before we end for today? Oh, it's working, yeah. It's working. Yeah, look, if you look at it, hold on a second, watch. If I go here, if I just jump up, see that's a jump. That's how his jump is going to look, right? See it? It is, yeah. See, look, that's his animation. Oh, and then this is the running. That's a different animation. Here's the animation for running, and here's the jump. Whoa, right? It doesn't show jumping right now because it's just we're not jumping yet, but the animation is working, that piece, right? All right, let's stop this for the day, and then when we get back, we'll talk more. I'm going to put it up on GitHub, and you can see what I've done. All right. Okay, guys. So I'll see you not next week, but the week after. Good luck on your assignment number 2. Yeah, I would recommend you start early. Don't wait until I'm doing the tutorials. Try it out yourself, because this is, again, you see how complex this is just to make them do these things, right? There's a lot involved.